he's been and who he has to be this time of the year. That's why he's a champion. You see a guy like that in year 20, obviously first ballot Hall of Famer, top 5 dead or alive ever to play in the NBA. And to see him doing the little things like that, just a screening, him pushing the pace, him finding teammates, him defending, rebounding, it makes it easier to get these other guys to do it.
So we told you about the slow start, but then he picked it up 5 for 6 for 18 points in transition, the most for him since ESPN began tracking that statistic in the 13-14 season. Still dangerous on the break in his 20th season. Let's talk about Game 3 some more with Jalen Rose, who's with us in studio. Jalen's second game in a row we've seen extended, let's not call it garbage time, let's call it reserve minutes as the game got away from one team. Lakers dominated this one. How'd they do it?
They did, and if the Warriors wanted to take a word away from this game, it would be foul.
Okay.
Because they had personal ones, technical ones, flagrant ones, offensive ones, defensive ones. They were a frustrated basketball team. They looked out of character, didn't look like one of a composed squad that has won 4 championships. And give the Lakers credit on their home floor. In particular, D'Angelo Russell getting them off to a very good start, knocking down threes, making plays offensively. Anthony Davis was terrific, not only changing shots, blocking shots, scoring the ball, grabbing boards, giving intensity. But how about LeBron James? Second quarter, third quarter, the 38-year-old in his 20th season making hustle plays, scoring in transition, exciting the crowd, showing leadership, and also their coaching staff. Because you nurture players like Walker. You give him minutes when Austin Reeves is struggling, and now all of a sudden these last couple of games has paid off for you.
The Warriors talk about it. Steve Kerr talks about it. Steph Curry talks about it. It's always the one thing they look at on the stat sheet more than anything else, turnovers. In addition to the fouls, they're loosey-goosey with the ball. They know it, but why can't they fix it?
And you got to give the Lakers a lot of credit, getting deflections and getting out in transition, not allowing the Golden State Warriors to set up their offense. The Lakers also got to the free throw line multiple times in this game. They were pounding the paint. They were playing aggressive, and that caused those turnovers. And, of course, the Golden State Warriors did have a lot of careless plays and a lot of unforced turnovers, but at the same time, it was all about the Lakers' effort.
All right, so not a must-win for the Warriors in Game 4, but a really need to win in Game 4. What are the adjustments they have to make?
I'm anticipating a long series. And anytime your shots aren't falling, the first thing you have to do is just play harder. Work the game. And I anticipate Steph Curry is going to talk to his teammates about that. I anticipate Klay Thompson is going to respond. But they're going to need other offensive weapons, in particular a guy like Jordan Poole to have a big game. Draymond Green to stay out of foul trouble. Looney to grab every rebound like he's been doing at different points of this postseason. JaMychal Green make plays. Andrew Wiggins had a big-time dunk, but they're going to need him to have a big-time game if they're going to win on the road.
For now, it's the Lakers up 2-1 with another home game coming up Monday right across the street. Jalen, always learn something when I do a segment with you.
Appreciate the love.
Congrats on the win.
All right, let's now welcome in our Michael Wilbon. LeBron James got off to a slow start, Michael, but he was spectacular in the second half. Can you put into perspective what he's doing in year 20?
Has anybody else run up into the stands that way to sort of stop momentum after chasing down a loose ball? Look, it's unprecedented. That's the perspective. It's unprecedented. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar averaged 23 points a game in his 38th year. But Kareem didn't have the full court effect by that time in his career that LeBron James has now, the energy you saw. And LeBron, remember, he wound up with, 21, 8, and 8 tonight and didn't score in the first quarter. Didn't even take a shot. Excuse me, wound up with a couple of free throws late in the second quarter. But, I mean, what LeBron is doing is unprecedented. No one else has had that kind of impact on the game this late, this many years into a career, and he's still doing that at a level. Look, I know he didn't get any MVP votes for the first time, and I don't know how many years, but it doesn't mean that LeBron is still not one of the handful of best players in the NBA. Because he is.
And he got to conserve a little bit of that energy, only 32 minutes. And as you mentioned, this late stage in his career is pivotal. Anthony Davis, meanwhile, bounced back in a big way after only 11 points in Game 2. What was different tonight?
Well, it's different every other game, isn't it? I mean, we're asking this every other game. And we're actually asking it every game. You had a great game tonight, but you didn't the last game. You were not good tonight, but you were great the last. This goes on and on. The beat goes on. And so what was different was, it was one of those nights where Anthony Davis was rebounding, pun intended, and he was so great defensively that the rebounds and block shots, which I guess were something like 11 and 4, don't really tell the story of what he did around the basket, because he also got back after getting involved and defending, further up in the lane. He would get back and protect the rim, and he was doing both these things and being everywhere like a dominant Anthony Davis can defensively, and you heard him just tell Lisa Salters that. And so the Lakers talked about it. It was impressed upon them, impressed upon him that he needed to play that way, and he did. Anybody's guess as to whether that's going to happen in Game 4 or what's going to happen in Game 4. His defensive contribution has not been, as helter-skelter as the offense. I mean, we've seen the point production go up and down sort of radically. That has not been the case necessarily with his deep shots. But tonight, he was a tornado out there, and the Warriors had no clue as to how to solve Anthony Davis. He changed another half dozen shots that don't even go into the box score that prevented them. I mean, he was just snuffing out potential layups in that first half. The Warriors at one point were up 40-29, and it seems like they should have been up 15 to 18 points when you consider all the missed close-in shots that they had, and a lot of those were caused by a flying, hulking Anthony Davis.
To be honest with you, Michael, I just think he watches ESPN and watches you and Stephen A. call him out about his performance, so he's constantly up and down.
We're going to limit that to Stephen A. Not all of us are calling him out, and certainly not at that level. Look, I think a lot of that is, we talked about this pregame. I'm glad you brought it up. Jalen Rose talked about how hard it is in any sport, in any profession, to be great at something every night. And one of the things I believe is there just aren't that many players who have greatness in them 4 or 5 games in a series. Those guys are the greatest players of all time if you're that consistently great multiple times in a series. Sometimes you have to be not happy, but you have to be, content with doing it twice in a series, or maybe a great series is a third time. People aren't great 6 or 7 times in a series unless their names are Jordan or Kobe or Bird or Magic or LeBron or Russell. So it doesn't happen all that often. And so I don't know that Anthony Davis should be expected to be as great every single game of a series as some people think he should be. I don't know that I'm buying into that theory.
All right, meanwhile, the series is far from over. What do the Warriors have to do in order to even this series at 2 games apiece?
I'm going to give you a cynical answer, a flippant answer at first, and say, well, how about paying attention? How about just coming to play? I mean, and I know that the Lakers were dominant defensively with Anthony Davis leading the way, and LeBron, I didn't care about the no shots in the first quarter. LeBron James was locked into what he wanted to do, which is involved getting his teammates involved offensively before he got necessarily involved in the scoring. And he and Anthony Davis were great. But the Warriors were so casual with the ball. In the first half alone, they had 12 turnovers that resulted in 17 Laker points. I mean, they were just almost like somebody woke them and they thought it was a game in mid-November instead of, early May. And just the everything from shot selection to attention to detail to careless turnovers. The turnovers to me, and maybe Steve Kerr and the players will disagree with this when we hear them post-game soon, maybe they think those errors were forced. I think many of them, if not most of them, were unforced. And the Lakers, the Warriors looked like anything but the championship team we know them to be. I expect something completely different in Game 4. Actually, the Warriors looked like they did in the game against Memphis, where they just sort of sleepwalked through that game. I don't understand what happened. Again, they were up 11, 40-29, and looked like they should have been up more and did nothing, essentially, after that the rest of the game. Garbage time lasted 9 minutes. Starters pulled. That's not the championship effort we expect to see, and certainly not the results from the defending champs.
Golden State only shot 50% from 3 in Game 2. 29% in Game 3. That's not going to get it done, especially against this tough Lakers squad. Game 4 Monday night. That's our Michael Wilbon. He knows everything you need to know about on SportsCenter. Thank you, man.